What's up, everybody? David Yakir here for iHeartRadio's Yak About, a boomer's GPS guide to life. So if you're familiar with the years 46 to 64, then this is the place you want to be. So put your headphones on, go for a run, and listen as we yak about. Hey, David here for Yak About, helping you be better, healthier, and more informed than any generation that came before. We are broadcasting today, and we are back home at Planet Vero Studios. I am here with Sally. How are you, Sally?
I'm great, David. How are you?
I've missed you.
Aww.
I've missed you. Not that I didn't mind working with Wayne all those weeks. It was really great. We get to talk tech and that type of stuff.
Well, I'm just a girl about town. I'm always so busy.
Yeah, well, I talk about busy, you being busy. I'm following you on Facebook, as always, and you're starting to put out all these green salads made from the garden. Tell me about how the garden's doing.
The garden has been absolutely luscious this year. I have loved it so much. It's such a wide variety. I mean, I can have 30 people at my house and I can find something in the garden to feed everybody. It's that plentiful.
You still have the hot peppers going?
Yes. In fact, right as we speak, I have hot peppers in my dehydrator to make pepper flakes like you get at an Italian restaurant.
Oh, right.
Yeah, you just dehydrate peppers and then grind them in a Ninja and you've got it. You know, usually I use cayennes. This year I'm trying these other peppers that I grew by mistake, really. These absolutely the scorching peppers. They're so hot.
Oh, do you have any you're going to spare?
Oh, sure.
Oh, I would love it. Next time I come in, I'd love the peppers because you know I'm a pepper freak.
Oh, wow. What do you want them, fresh or dried?
How about fresh?
Okay.
Oh, I'd love it. All right. So today we're going to do a few things, but we have a big one, and I hope it's not too dry. But there were certain things that just happened in Congress that people may not be familiar with that I really want to talk about, and it's about Internet privacy. And I want to explain.
Because I'm so mad about that.
I know. I've gotten a lot of questions about it. So what I did was I called a few people, a few lawyers in New York and in Washington to help explain and make it simple enough that I could talk about it to the audience and explain exactly what happened.
Well, I'll be glad to hear that.
And I will. I keep getting these questions about television sets as if everybody's going out and buying television and people still are confused about 4K and HDR and things like that. So I think we'll do that. But first, I think we'll start with our favorite sponsor, and that is New Vision Eye Center. Right. And as you know, we've been involved with New Vision between us. I think we're visiting them every couple of weeks. These guys are great. They certainly kept my retina detached, or I can't really explain it. All I know is that these guys saved my eyesight. So I would go take a ride over to Dr. Minotti, Reinauer, Tate, O'Brien, and the rest of that great team. Because honestly, Sally, Wayne, and I wouldn't trust our eyes to anybody else.
You said they kept my retina detached. You meant they kept my retina that was threatening to detach in check.
Yes, that was it. That was it, exactly. Because the first visit, when he said, okay, there's a fluid behind the eye and it's stuck to the retina, and if it pulls off and tears the retina, we'll have some issues. And he told me how to care for it, and we waited a week, and it actually detached itself from the retina without tearing the retina. So we're all good, and he told me exactly what to watch for. So I think we're good. I wasn't so excited going there, except to see the guys because I like them, but I was certainly excited when I came out. All right, so I want to talk about something here, and I think this is going to take up a bit of time. And I'll try to go slow, and I don't want to bore you people, but I want to talk about Internet privacy. So we just brought in a government that has a very particular view and about Internet privacy. And so a lot of people don't really understand what they vote for, what the issues are. Sometimes we just vote R because we're R, and sometimes we vote D because we're D, but we're not actually following all the issues. But we're undergoing a fundamental change in how government views the Internet. So I wanted to slowly, and again, if you can follow this, because it's really important. So Congress just handed President Trump legislation on Tuesday that would wipe away the landmark privacy protections that were put in place by the Obama administration for Internet users, right? And we started getting a lot of questions on the tech feeds. So I thought I'd take a chance to explain some of it and maybe answer some of the really pressing questions. So basically what it allows is that the legislation makes it easier for Internet providers such as AT&T and Verizon to collect and sell information such as your web browsing history and your app usage, right? So one of the first questions I got was, how do you protect your privacy? And some even asked if it would be possible. I thought this was funny. Some people who didn't like the idea, they said, oh, well, if we can go get information, anybody can get the information, can I get information on the browsing histories of Trump or members of Congress? Well, to find out, I spoke and called to as many people as I could who have an understanding of privacy and security. And I relied heavily on the Internet guy his name is Brian Fung from the Washington Post, who's been following the issue really closely in the public and the private sectors. So exactly what did Congress vote on? Congress voted to keep a set of Internet privacy protections approved in October from taking effect later this year. So what happened was there were all these protections that were put in place for privacy back last October, and they were supposed to take effect this year.
Why did it take Obama 8 years to put them in effect? That's what I'd like to know.
Well, I think what happened is that there was a push and pull, and I'm not exactly sure, and I want to make sure I answer these things accurately. There was a push and pull between the FCC. It took them years to actually propose the legislation that would work. So they had been working on it for years. Because
I want to say, I'm very unhappy about that. I'm sick of Big Brother having their nose in everything we do. It's really been the way privacy has gone is such a shame. We've lost something wonderful in our privacy. But I also, being primarily an R, not a D, I did see a lot of things get implemented right on the tail end of the Obama administration that really were, more shackling to the new administration. And I wonder if this is one of those things. It's just interesting.
Well, in this particular case, and I'm trying to actually not be political about it, is that they had been working on rules for about 8 years, how they were going to deal with privacy. Because a lot of as technologies evolve, the nature of how we deal with privacy constantly changes and evolves also.
Of course, how much authority do we even have over that anymore since the basic ownership and control of the Internet was offloaded to whatever entity that it's under with the UN?
Right. Who managed it all these years anyway, but it used to be American-based, and now the same people who were always managing it, and I just forget the acronym, just left me for a second. ICANN. They were always managing this, but it was under the strict direction of the U.S. government, who never really interfered. They let ICANN do what they do, right? And then, being that the Internet is a worldwide thing, they thought maybe it better under the United Nations since... And honestly, nothing's changed since it happened, so it's still under the yet. Well, this is true. And by the way, sometimes things change because technology changes.
Yeah.
Anyway, I do want to get through some of this because I want to explain.
Okay.
So the rules that were put in place would have banned Internet providers from collecting, storing, sharing, and selling certain types of personal information. Those were the rules that were going to go into effect that they had been working on for years and years. Right, such as your browsing history, the apps you're using, your location information, right? And they couldn't do this without your particular consent, right? Now, the legislation hasn't been signed by Trump yet. He's expected to sign it, but it hasn't. So one person asked, without these rules, could I really go to an Internet provider and buy a person's browsing history? And the short answer is... in theory, yes, you can if you have enough money to make it worthwhile for the ISP to sell you something. Like marketers have a lot of money. They'll go buy the data, So Verizon can charge, P&G for all the information of everything we do, right? Couple of $1 million and say, okay, you can have this set of information for a couple of $1 million. But I don't think an individual, can go over and say, hey, I want Sally Dillon. I want to see what she's been, browsing on and what apps she's using. So, but here's sort of a little safety net. And again, it's not quite, the safety as we would hope. But many Internet service providers already have privacy policies that cover this kind of information. And, they've made these, we're always getting emails. I don't know how many people read them, but we're always getting emails. We've updated our privacy policy. We've updated our privacy policy. I get nervous every time I see that.
Yeah.
Because every time they're updating it, it seems that they're taking something away from me.
Absolutely. The truth is there is no privacy.
That's
Get
right.
used to it. Unless you want to completely unplug.
That's right.
You are an open book.
Right.
And so am I.
So they generally do have privacy policies, and probably if they would just summarize it in 2 lines, like, we don't sell your information unless you approve, period, it's hard to read.
Oh, they make me so mad because recently Wayne had to call Comcast about an overcharge that they gave us, and he called and, due to privacy, we only can speak to your wife. It's her account.
That's right. That's right.
That's how they use privacy to harass us.
Right. But there's an interesting a piece here that was explained to me that if an Internet provider violates their own privacy policy, state attorney generals could take the company to court because they had a contract with the people.
Yeah, well, I won't hold my breath on
right.
that.
So, okay. So, I'm halfway through this, but I know we're about 12 minutes in. So why don't we go to a commercial and we'll come back and we'll finish. We are back. Before I get back to the privacy issue, which is really serious, I have a couple of things I want to put in here because I know we may get stuck for time later, but something came across. I've got to read this to you. So I think you have you have Alexa, right? You have the Amazon Echo?
I do.
Alexa? Okay. So the Echo and Alexa. So every once in a while you get these emails. They're always adding what's called new skill sets to Alexa. Apparently there are 10,000 of them now, so it does some amazing stuff. I got one in the email, and just I need to read it to you and tell me what you think. Okay?
I'm ready.
So, introducing Pet Lexa. The Pet Lexa feature allows dogs, cats, and other animals to communicate with Alexa just like you do. Pet Lexa gives pets the freedom to ask for food, place orders from Amazon, and activate smart home-enabled toys. If your pets are shy to warm up to their new AI friend, try suggesting music by the animals or the audiobook like Marley and Me on Audible. So go on, get the whole house talking and pet voice commands. To learn more, just ask Alexa, what is Pet Lexa?
I'd love to be able to use that to have Alexa tell my Libby to hush when she's barking during the day when I'm not home.
Okay, so here it is. I'm taking this all seriously. I'm going, wow. They really finally figured out how Jack, my little Jack, can use Alexa. And then I'm sitting there going, what month is this? April? Where are we? Beginning of April?
1984? I don't know.
What happens on the first day of April?
Oh.
I think it was an April Fool's.
Well, I noticed you said have the dog order from Amazon. That's kind of a clue right there.
That's right. But I actually read it and really took it seriously. So there you go, Mr. Tech Guy.
It's not far from legit. I mean, you could really use it to, have Alexa tell your dogs to hush or tell your dogs they're good or whatever that they need. Maybe even activate something that gives them a treat.
That's right. That's right. I'm sure it's just a matter of time before Alexa learns the bark of a dog also and knows which dog it is. Mm-hmm. All right. There is something else that happened. It was one of those personal experiences. For people who listen to the show, you know that I'm always looking for these discounts, how people, I always figure, in my experience, people are paying 30-40% more than they should on almost everything. You know, when if you shop right, you get 30% off here. If you don't shop right, you're paying the 30% extra. You know, and I think when you walk into a store, or if you shop online most of the time, prices are always about 30% more than they should be, because it's so easy to find a way to get a discount. But there is something, and we talked about big pharma and insurance companies and that type of thing. And for those people who have insurance, medical insurance, and have prescription drug plans, something happened recently that I had never seen before, and it happened to me personally. I was actually doing the bills, you know, sort of end-of-the-month bills, and I thought I had paid the prescription drug plan already, but I had gotten a bill in the mail for it. So in the process of calling them and figuring out, did I pay this bill, or and did it just cross, I had a really wonderful conversation with the representative, which, funny enough, lives in Vero, which is so odd because I didn't know Vero had a little call center here. But at the end of this wonderful conversation, she was looking at my drug list, and I have one drug that even with insurance is something like $75 a month. And she looked at it and she goes, you know, we should try to change that from a tier 3 to a tier 2. I said, really? I said, you just do that? She goes, yeah, let's get them on the phone. Let's tell them we want to change that from a tier 3 to a tier 2 drug. So that's $75 a month. So they switched me to somebody. And I'm talking, and they go, and what drug is that? And I said, look, this is a daily inhaler that I use. And they're expensive, but I use it every day of my life. You go, okay, let me get the name. Let me get your doctor's names. Let me talk to your doctor, that type of thing. An hour later, they said, you've been approved for a tier, to move down a tier, right? $75 went to $15 a month. So think of that. Every 3 months when you get a 90-day supply, $75, $150, $225 went down to $45, right? That is mind-blowing. So if you really think that you have some expensive drugs, why not call your insurance company and tell them to try to reduce it into another tier? Anyway,
that's good advice. Thank you for that.
You know, so I come across these things, and unfortunately, the more they work, the more I get obsessed about trying to find discounts. But I'll share with everybody as I find them. All right, so I just want to explain one more piece of this privacy business, because people don't understand this data that people that are being collected on you, like Facebook or Verizon or the ISPs. So why is this valuable? See, what generally happens in an industry is that a marketer, an advertising agency, a brand, will ask a company such as Facebook, to advertise with a certain demographic, say men between the ages of 45 and 55. And the two companies will settle on a deal, and the marketer's ads will be displayed on Facebook to that group. But the marketing company will never see specific information about those people, which will continue to be held by the data company, or in this case, the ISP. So Facebook has the information enough to put that product in front of the people they want, but they're not giving the brand any of that product. So that's the most likely way you'll have your web history being sold, which means that the raw data, on somebody can be harder than you think. So anyway, what they're allowing people to do now is to go out and actually buy the data. So P&G or an advertising company could say, wait a second, I'm advertising here, or, you're collecting all this data on my demographic. I want to know who they are, what they're doing, everything they're doing. Which brings us to I think you had a story, Sally, that was really funny, where you were about to buy something for Marie, I think. You were shopping for Marie, you went into the store, and when you came out, you were advertised exactly what you were looking for.
We talked about vacuum cleaners, and I didn't buy one, and I didn't search for one on the internet, but suddenly I was inundated with vacuum cleaner ads online, and that made me realize that I'm already being stalked by these bots.
Yeah, we're all acquainted now that if you do a search for coffee pots, your entire week on the net is going to come up with coffee pot ads, so
With the idea that you don't even have to do a search and they hear what it is that you're talking about. I mean, and that's really what it boils down to. There are several examples that I can cite where we just spoke about something and then it started up. So they're listening.
Yeah, and
they're listening.
That's right. But there are ways we can protect ourselves. And this is where it gets complicated, to explain to people. But people should do research on that, on this. So, they have something called a VPN, which is actually a virtual private network, right? This is sort of like a private funnel that people can't get into, right? And it doesn't really cost that much. In fact, VPNs are really so numerous now that you can actually buy a year's subscription. And what you do is you install it on your computer, and then it puts like a coating around everything you do.
How much are they? Because that sounds worthwhile.
It used to really be expensive, but now you can get it for like $75 a year. But you need to do your research on the type of VPN system, on which are the good ones, because like anything else, companies go in and out of business. So you want to get a reputable one. Also, there are browsers that are out there. One's called Tor, right, which is so apparently rock solid that nothing can get in. It's encrypted totally, so nobody can see anything. And if they do, they only see the encryption. The problem with those are that they're really sort of badly built, so they slow you down. So even though they're protecting you, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I could open Tor instead of Google Chrome and then be private?
That's right. Yes. Yes. They even have, I don't even know if I have it here. There's sort of, there's another Google out there, and I forget what it's called. I sort of made a note about it. I really wanted to tell you about it. It's sort of like DuckDuckGo or something. I'll get back to you on that. But it's actually a search engine that doesn't allow anything to track your searches. So I'll get back. I actually thought I had written it down, but I didn't. I will tell you the funniest thing. The most protection you have now are from porn sites. They have the best protective encrypted technology out there. This one is called Pornhub, and they never will allow anybody to know anything you've done there. So, as is usual, the worst of the internet has the leading technology. All right, this is David Yakir. I'm here with Sally, and we'll see you next week. So yak amongst yourselves.
Thank you.